Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dirshu, our virtual Dirshu Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Hey. Today's daf in the Dirshu Daf Yomi B'Halacha is Tzadik Vav Amid Beis. We're continuing to learn Hilchas Pesach. We've been discussing the laws of Sefiras HaOmer. We are in Siman Tuf Pei Tes, and we pick up today on the top line of Tzadik Vav Amid Beis in Tuf Pei Tes Sif Ches. Excuse me. Says the Mechaber, if somebody neglected, literally this means, if somebody forgot to make the bracha of Sefiras HaOmer on one of the days. That's not really what it means. What the Mechaber means is, if somebody neglected to count Sefiras HaOmer on one of the days of the Omer, and we'll see that in the Mishnah Berurah. So, if somebody forgot to count Sefiras HaOmer on one of the days of the Omer, Bein Yom Rishon, Bein Misha'ar Yomim, whether he forgot on the first day of Sefiras HaOmer or he forgot on one of the other days of Sefiras HaOmer, Sefer B'Sha'ar Yomim B'loi Bracha. He will count on the rest of the days of Sefiras HaOmer, but he'll count without making a bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Lamed Hey, Shachach levarech. As I said, literally, the words of the Mechaber mean that he forgot to make the bracha. Says the Havdalah Chaim reciting Loimar, what the Mechaber really means to say is, Shaloi siper. He did not count. Not just he didn't make the bracha, he didn't count. V'loi nizkar ad svira she'achareha. And he did not remember that he forgot to count that day until the next day, until the next counting. So he forgot at night. He forgot throughout the entire next day. He didn't remember until it was time to count the next day. So he didn't remember until the following night. V'hu hadin im noid aloi she'esmael ta b'minyan v'safar sfira acheres. The same halacha would apply. Let's say somebody did count, but he realizes on the next night, oivei, last night I counted wrong. So let's say Tuesday night was the seventh night of the Omer, and on Tuesday night he counted 6. And then on Wednesday night, he asks somebody, what's tonight? And they tell him 8. And he says, oivei, last night I counted 6. So that means he never counted day 7. If he didn't count day 7, even though he counted, but he counted improperly, so he missed a day. Dinoi k'moisha lo siper klal. His halacha would be just the same as somebody who didn't count at all, because while he counted inaccurately. Says the Mishnah Berurah Nice Cut Lamed Vav. What's the halacha in such a case where you missed a day of the counting? Sefer b'sha'ar yamim. You could continue counting on the rest of the days. Explains the Havdalah Chaim. Kedas harbe paiskim. This goes according to the many of the paiskim. The ein Sefiras HaYamim ma'akvin ze'ezeh. Who reason that the counting on each day, one day does not negate another day. If you missed one day, you still have a mitzvah to count on the next day. They're all independent mitzvahs. The mitzvah of counting, each day you have a mitzvah to count. So just because you missed one day, it doesn't mean you don't have a mitzvah to count on the next night. These poskim rule that you do have a mitzvah to count on the next night. Because each day carries with it its own mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. However, while you're going to count, you're going to count b'loi bracha. Well, the Havdalah Chaim says, a nice cut in Lamed Zayin, b'loi bracha, you're still going to count without a bracha. Now, if each day is its own mitzvah, why do you have to count without a bracha? Why can't you make a new bracha on the next night and cover the mitzvah for that night? Explains the Havdalah Chaim, the reason we no longer make a bracha is lachoish lamanda amar de sfiras sheva shabbosais temimois be'inan. Because we have to concern ourselves with the opinion that holds that the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer is to count 7 complete weeks. Like the pasuk says, Sheva Shabbosais Temimois Tihiyena. You should count 7 complete weeks. V'haleka. And in the case of this fellow, he's not counting 7 complete weeks. The Hachaser Chad Yuma, because he's missing one day. So according to those paiskim, he cannot make a bracha, because he's no longer being mekayim the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to count 7 complete weeks. You're not counting 7 complete weeks because you missed one day. So according to that shita, you don't have a mitzvah, you can't make a bracha. But the other paiskim hold that no, you don't need Shabbosais Temimos. It doesn't have to be 7 complete weeks. Each night is an independent mitzvah to count. That's why we continue counting to be Mekayim the halacha according to those paiskim, but we do not make a bracha because we have to worry about the paiskim who hold that you're not being Mekayim a mitzvah, and therefore your bracha would be a bracha of Havdalah. V'nachayin bazeh, and the Chavetz Chaim says that the proper thing to do in such a case would be sheyishma habracha min hashliach tzibur. You should make sure to hear the bracha from the shliach tzibur, from the chazan, or from one of the other people in Shul by davening who are going to make a bracha, somebody who did not miss a night, so he's going to make a bracha. Listen to the bracha from him. V'yana amen, and you should answer amen to his bracha. Bekavana lotzeis, having kavana that you want to be yoitza with his bracha. V'achakach yispar, and then you'll count. Now the truth is, we all know this halacha that if you miss a night, you don't make the bracha, and you go to somebody who's making the bracha and you say amen. Most of us would not do that with the shliach tzibur. L'chayr, that seems to be a very simple eitzah. Why do you have to go run around and ask somebody, are you making a bracha? Are you making a bracha? I want to say amen. Please be mitzi me with the bracha. Just say amen to the bracha of the shots. I think the reason we don't do that is because we cannot assume that the shliach tzibur really has in mind to be mitzi people who need somebody to be mitzi them in the bracha. I think the stam shots, when he goes up to daven, he knows he has to make the bracha of Sefiras HaOmer, but he doesn't necessarily have in mind to be mitzi other people. Therefore, we find somebody who's making a bracha and we ask him specifically, could you do me a favor? Could you have in mind to be mitzi me with the bracha? And we say amen with kavanah to be yotze. Okay, now let's continue in the Shulchan Aruch. So that was the first case of the Mechaber. The first case of the Mechaber is you missed a night. Either you didn't count at all that night and the following day, or you counted improperly, so you missed an entire day of the counting. So you continue counting the rest of Sefiras HaOmer, albeit without a bracha. Now he has another case. Avalim hu musupik im dilei yom echad v'loy safar. How about if somebody has a suffix? I don't remember. Did I count yesterday? I know that I wasn't by Ma'ariv, so I don't think I counted by night. But I remember that during the day, I was thinking to myself, oh, I have to count the Omer. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I did. I'm not sure if I didn't. So this fellow has a suffix. What's the halacha then? Says the Shulchan Aruch, Yispar b'shar yamim bivracha. Then you could continue counting Sefiras HaOmer for the rest of the Omer with a bracha. Explains the Chavetz Chaim, a nice cut in Lamed Ches, Yispar b'shar yamim bivracha. Then you could count on the rest of the days with a bracha. Why? Explains the Chavetz Chaim, de'ika svek sveka, because in this case you have a double suffix. Shema loy dilek klal, you have one suffix, maybe you taka counted, maybe you didn't miss. And if you didn't miss, you could keep on counting with the bracha. So Shema loy dilek klal, that's the first suffix. Vim timtzalomer shedileg, and on the chance that you did indeed skip, you did forget to count the previous day. So on the tzad that you did indeed skip, Shema halacha ka'isen paiskim, maybe the halacha really follows those paiskim who hold the chol yom hu mitzvah b'fnei atzma, that each day of counting is its own independent mitzvah, and you're allowed to make a bracha on Sefiras HaOmer even if you missed a day. So here we have a double suffix. We have one suffix, maybe you didn't miss a day, and we have another suffix, even if you did miss a day, maybe the halacha follows the paiskim, that even when you miss a day, you're still allowed to make a bracha. And therefore, the halacha is that you keep on counting with a bracha. V'hu adin, and the Chavetz Chaim continues, v'hu adin, and the same halacha applies, b'chol davar, in any case, shedinoi lachsar v'lispar b'li bracha machmas suffix. And he's going to explain such a case. Whenever you have a case where you have to count svira over again because you have a suffix whether or not you're still chayiv to count, and the halacha is that you count without a bracha, in all of those cases, im loy chazar v'siper, if you did not count over again, yispar sha'arei leilois b'bracha, you continue counting for the rest of the Omer with a bracha. What's such a case? Explains the Chavetz Chaim. V'lacheh, therefore, im ta b'yamim v'loy ta b'shavuos. Let's say somebody was counting the Omer. Let's say it was day 22. On day 22, what do you count? You count Hayom Echad Ve'esrim Yom. Today is, it's the 22nd day. Hayom Shnayim Ve'esrim Yom. Today is 22 days. Shehem Shloisha Shavuos, which is 3 weeks. Ve'yom Echad, and 1 day ba'omer. Now, this fellow was on the 22nd day, and he goofed, and he said, Hayom Echad Ve'esrim Yom. Today is 21 days. So he got the day wrong. Shehem Shloisha Shavuos, which is 3 days, Ve'yom Echad, and 1 day ba'omer. So guess what? He got the weeks right. He got the weeks right, but he got the days wrong. In such a case, what's the halacha? So says the Chavetz Chaim, Im ta b'yomim v'lo ta b'shavuos. If you inaccurately stated the days, but you did not inaccurately state the weeks, you got the weeks right. The opposite. Or ta b'shavuos. You goofed on the weeks and you misstated the weeks. V'lo ta b'yomim, but you got the days right. The dinoi, in such a case, the halacha is lachzar v'lispar b'loy bracha, that you're supposed to count again, but without a bracha, because we have a suffix. Maybe you were yaitza. Maybe you don't need both. Maybe you don't need the days and the weeks. Maybe if you got one right, you're okay. So why are you counting over again? Only misafik. Since you're counting over again misafik, you count over again without a bracha. The chanal b'siv katan zayin, like we saw previously in siv katan zayin. In such a case, im loy chazar v'siper, if you did not count over again, afilu hachi, even so, mina shar yamim b'bracha. The rest of the Omer you could count with a bracha. Why? Because again, there's a svek sveka. First of all, maybe you were yaitza with the counting that you did on that night. Maybe you don't need the days and the weeks. So maybe your counting was a good counting. That's one suffix. Then the other suffix is, even if you weren't yaitza because your counting was not a good counting, maybe we paskin like those shitas that hold that even if you miss a night, you could still count with a bracha. So again, here's a case where you have a svek sveka, a double suffix, and therefore you could continue counting for the rest of the Sefiras HaOmer with a bracha. Now, before we go on to Sif Tes, I want to point out something. In the beginning of the Sif, the Mechaber said something very interesting that I kind of glossed over when I read it. The Mechaber started off the Sif by saying, Im shachach levarech be'echad me'ayomim. If you forgot to count the Omer, remember, that's what we said the Mechaber means. If you forgot to count the Omer on one of the days, bein yom rishon, whether you forgot on the first night, bein misha'ar yomim, or whether you forgot on another night. The halacha is that you keep on counting without a bracha. Now, why does the Mechaber make this distinction over here? Why does he point out that it's immaterial whether you missed the first night or you missed another night? What's the difference if you missed the first night or you missed any other night? You missed a night. So I believe that this is coming la'afuke, the shita of Rav Sadia Gaon that's brought down in the Torah. Rav Sadia Gaon is a very interesting shita. Rav Sadia Gaon holds that if you missed the first night, then the rest of Sefira you count without a bracha. But if you made the first night and you miss a different night, so you counted on the first night and you missed the 13th night. So the 13th day you never counted Sefira, not by night, not by day. So you missed day 13. Says the Rav Sadia Gaon that now you continue counting Sefira with a bracha. The only time you don't make a bracha is if you miss day 1. But if you miss any other day, you could keep on counting with a bracha. Why is that? So the Bach, if I'm understanding the Bach properly, the Bach explains the shita of Rav Sadia Gaon as follows. Rav Sadia Gaon holds that the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer is to begin counting on the second day of Pesach. That's when you begin. You begin on Tez Zayin Nisan. That's when you begin counting, and you have to count all the way till Shavuos. So the mitzvah is to start on Tez Zayin Nisan and then count from then on. Rav Sadia therefore says, if you missed the first night, so then you can no longer make a bracha. Because once you miss the first night, you're not being mekayim the mitzvah anymore. There's no mitzvah to start counting on Yud Ches Nisan. There's no mitzvah to start counting on Yud Zayin. There's no mitzvah to start counting on Chaf. So if you missed the first night, once you missed the first night, you can no longer be Yotze the mitzvah. But if you made the first night, then even if you missed nights in the middle, you started counting on Tez Zayin Nisan, and you ended up by Shavuos. Even if you missed some nights in the middle, you're still Yotze the mitzvah. But you must start on that first day. So the Mechaber is coming over here, La'afuke, the opinion of Rav Sadia Gaon. He's telling you that I don't hold like Rav Sadia Gaon, and it doesn't matter whether you missed the first night or you missed any other night. Even if you missed one of the nights in the middle, you can no longer recite a bracha. Okay, now we go to Sif Tes. Says the Mechaber, Leil Shabbos v'Leil Yom Tov Mevarchim v'Seifrim Achar Kiddush Bebeis HaKnesses. Remember, we already mentioned this previously. There was a minig, and indeed I grew up with this minig. There was a minig to make Kiddush in Shul Friday night and Yom Tov night. The source of that minig was the problem that we had Aniyim, who, where did they go? Aniyim, if they didn't have a place to eat Friday night, they came to Shul. So there are Aniyim in Shul that don't have yayin, they don't have anything. So you made Kiddush for them to be mitzi them in Kiddush and give them wine to drink. So based on that, says the Mechaber, on Leil Shabbos and Leil Yom Tov, Mevarchim v'Seifrim Achar Kiddush Bebeis HaKnesses. When do you count Sefira? Like this, we normally count Sefira after the Shtil Shmoneh Esrei. We say Kaddish Tiskabel, and after Kaddish Tiskabel, that's when we count Sefira, at least in Nusach Ashkenaz. Says the Mechaber, if it's Friday night or it's Yom Tov night, then you're going to make Kiddush and then only count Sefira after Kiddush. Let's take a look in the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut in Lamed Tes. Achar Kiddush Bebeis HaKnesses. You count Sefira after Kiddush. Why? Shekol ma shenucha lahakdim Kedushas Hayom. Whatever we can do to bring in the Kedushas Shabbos or the Kedushas Yom Tov quicker, yesh lanu lahakdim. Whatever we can do to bring in the Kedusha faster, that's what we do. So we don't want to push it off for another minute and go ahead and count Sefira. Instead, we want to make Kiddush first. However, v'im sefer b'veisai, if you're counting Sefira at home, yispar kaidem Kiddush. You might think, I didn't go out to daven Friday night for whatever reason. I know the halacha is that in Shul you count Sefira after Kiddush. Maybe I davened at home tonight. Maybe I'm supposed to count Sefira after Kiddush. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. If you're counting at home, you got to count before Kiddush. Why? Ta'asa lecho kaidem Sefira. Because how are you going to make Kiddush before Sefira? Once you make Kiddush, now you got to go ahead and wash. You can't be mafsik between the Kiddush and going ahead and washing and making a moitzi, because you need Kiddush b'makom suda. So you're not supposed to make a hefsik over there. And you're not allowed to eat before Sefiras HaOmer, before you become the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. So at home, you count Sefira first, and then you go ahead and then you make Kiddush. Now, there's another reason why, and that is because over here, there's really no svara anymore to say that you should make Kiddush first because we want to bring in the Kedushas Hayom faster. You already brought in the Kedushas Hayom in Shul. In Shul, you davened, you said Vayichulu, you davened Shmoneh Esrei. You already brought in the Kiddush Hayom. You already heard Kiddush. They made Kiddush in Shul. So you already machnis the Kedushas Hayom. So now you could already count Sefira. You're not delaying in bringing in the Kedushas Hayom. Another thing that this halacha is negeya to, many people daven Shabbos early, or they take in Shabbos early already during the Yemei HaSfira. So what happens if you daven early? If you daven early, so now you daven the mincha, let's say before Plag, and then you daven Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv. You come home. Now what? Should you count Sefira? Should you have your Suda? Should you make Kiddush? What should you do? So the truth is that this is really tricky, because we already learned yesterday that you're not allowed to sit down to a Sudas Kva once the Zman of Sefiras HaOmer already came. What's the Zman of Sefiras HaOmer? Tzeis HaKechavim. However, we said yesterday that already a half an hour before Tzeis HaKechavim, you're not allowed to eat a Sudas Kva. A half an hour before Tzeis HaKechavim is really during the time period of Ben Hashmoshes. So if you take in Shabbos early, you have to be very careful. If by the time you come home and you're ready to sit down to your Suda, it's already within a half an hour of Pesach Echavim, you have a problem. Because now you can't make Kiddush and sit down to a Suda's Kva. You're not allowed to eat a Suda's Kva until you count Sefira. You have the same problem with Kriya Shema. The same halacha applies to Kriya Shema. You're not allowed to eat a Suda's Kva before you say Kriya Shema. So if you take in Shabbos early, and now it's already within a half an hour of Zman Kriya Shema, you're not allowed to make Kiddush and sit down and have a Suda's Kva. You have to say Kriya Shema first, and you have to count Sefira first. So if you make Shabbos early during the Yemei Sefira, you have to be careful. You have to look at the clock when you get home. If it's more than a half an hour before it says, fine, go ahead, make Kiddush. You're not mechuyev to be mafsik your Suda. Sit down, make Kiddush, everything, and then afterwards repeat Kriya Shema and say Sefira. But if it's within a half an hour of Pesach Echavim, now you gotta wait. Now you're gonna have to wait for Tzeis, and at Tzeis you'll say Kriya Shema, you'll say Sefira, and then you make Kiddush and have your Suda. Now let's go weiter in the Shulchan Aruch. By me, it's the last word on the second to last line on Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. Over Motzai Shabbos v'Yom Tov. What do you do on Motzai Shabbos or Motzai Yom Tov? Now you have to make Havdalah. What comes first, Sefira or Havdalah? Says the Shulchan Aruch. Over Motzai Shabbos v'Yom Tov. If it's Motzai Shabbos or Motzai Yom Tov, Koydem Havdalah Achar Kiddush Tiskabel. Achar Kaddish Tiskabel. Then you're going to count Sefira after the Kaddish of Tiskabel. Now, you know what? Let's take a look right away at the Mishnah Berurah's Kat Mem. Kaidem Havdalah, you're going to count Sefira before Havdalah. Because now we have the opposite Svar. On Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yom Tov, we want to hold on to the Kedushas HaYom as long as we can. So therefore, we delay Havdalah by counting Sefira first. Let's count Sefira first, delay Havdalah, then we'll make Havdalah and we'll push off the Kedushas HaYom. Achar Kaddish Tiskabel, the Mechaber made the point of saying that this comes after the Kaddish of Tiskabel. Reciting Loimar, what the Mechaber is telling you here is, Masha Omer Achar V'Hinayam V'Ata Kadosh, Dazu Gemar HaTfilah. When do we say Kaddish Shalem on Motzei Shabbos? We finish Shemona Esrei, we say Chatzi Kaddish, then we say V'Hinayam and V'Ata Kadosh, and only then do we say Kaddish Tiskabel. Kaddish Tiskabel is the closure of the Shemona Esrei. What do we say in Kaddish Shalom? Tiskabel Tzaloisai Nevu'usai Dechal Beis Yisrael. We ask that the Rabbanei Shalom should accept the Tzaloisahain, the Tefillah, the Shemona Esrei, Uba Usahain, and the requests of Klal Yisrael. So Kaddish Tiskabel, Kaddish Shalom, is what closes out the Tefillah. The V'Hinayam and the V'Ata Kadosh are considered a part of the Tefillah, because in V'Ata Kadosh you have Kedusha de Sidra, you have Kedusha, that's considered a part of the Tefillah. So you only have Chatzi Kaddish after the Shemona Esrei, and you only have Kaddish Tiskabel after V'Hinayam and V'Ata Kadosh, and then before we make Havdalah, that's where we count Sefira. V'yiten lecha Omer machar Sefira, and those have the meaning of saying V'yiten lecha, and the other things that it says over there in the Siddur to say on Motzei Shabbos, that comes after Sefira. Okay, let's go back to the Shulchan Aruch near the end of the last line of Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. Ukeshachal Yom Tov ha'achroin shel Pesach b'Motzei Shabbos. Let's say Achroin shel Pesach falls out on Motzei Shabbos. So now, what do you have to say? Does Omer Kiddush v'Havdalah b'Pamachas. So this is kind of, I'm going to call it Motzei Shvi shel Pesach. This is the night going from Shvi shel Pesach into Achroin shel Pesach. And it also happens to be Motzei Shabbos, because Achroin falls out on Sunday. So it's Motzei Shabbos now. So you have to say Havdalah, because you have to be Mavdil from Shabbos. But you also have to make Kiddush, because you have to bring in Achroin shel Pesach. What do you do then? Says the Mechaber, Yesh Lispar, then we should count Kaidem Shemevarchen ala Kais beBeis HaKnesses, before we make Kiddush and Havdalah in the Beis HaKnesses. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Eis Kat Mem Beis, near the bottom of Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. Ukeshachal Yom Tov ha'achroin, when Achroin shel Pesach falls out on Sunday. So now we're dealing with Motzei Shabbos going into Achron Shal Pesach. Lahachi nakat Yom Tov ha'achron. First, the Chavetz Chaim explains why are we focusing on Achron Shal Pesach when Achron Shal Pesach falls out on Sunday. So he explains why. Because what other Motzei Yom Tov, what other Yom Tov do you have that could fall out on Sunday? The Shvi Shal Pesach ein echal b'motzei Shabbos. The seventh day of Pesach never falls out on Sunday. V'leil Sheni Shal Pesach, and the second night of Pesach, when you also count Sefira, that also is not an issue, even though that could be on Sunday. Why? Because on the second night of Pesach, ein mekachin bebeis hakneses. Then we don't make Kiddush in Shul. We had this halacha earlier that on the first 2 nights of Pesach, we don't make Kiddush in Shul. Why don't we make Kiddush in Shul? Because the whole reason we make Kiddush in Shul is because of the Aniyim who don't have Yayin. But on the first 2 nights of Pesach, the Tzibur is mechuyev to provide all Aniyim with enough Yayin for the Dalet Kaisais. So there's no reason to make Kiddush in Shul. So even though the second night of Pesach, which is a night that could fall out on Motzei Shabbos, and you do count Sefira, so you have counting Sefira, and you have Havdalah from Shabbos, and you have Kiddush of the second night of Pesach. So it seems to be the same scenario that we're discussing here with Achron Shal Pesach. It's not, because there's no Kiddush in Shul. That's why we're focusing on Achron Shal Pesach. So Lahachi Nakat Yom Tov Achron, Tishvi Shal Pesach ein echal b'motzei Shabbos, v'leil Sheni Shal Pesach ein mekachin bebeis hakneses, Siman Taf Pei Zayin Siv Beis. Ice cotton mem gimel on Tzadik Zayin Amid Aleph. So in this case, yesh lispar kaidim. Then the Mechaber says we should count Sefira before Kiddush and Havdalah on the kais. Why? Because kanal, like we saw earlier, da'afuke yoimam achrinan kama de efsher. Because we want to push off, we want to delay Havdalah as much as possible. We don't want to go away from the Kiddush of Shabbos yet. So we'll delay it by counting Sefira. Afal gav shemekabel hacha Kedushas Yom Tov b'Kiddushay, even though you have a counter argument, the counter argument is, but we're also going to make Kiddush now. We're going to make Kiddush for Achron Shal Pesach. So maybe we should say that we don't want to delay Kiddush because we want to bring in the Kedusha of Yom Tov Achron. Nevertheless, the Chavetz Chaim says that's not a valid argument. Why? Because Kedusha Shabbos Gedolah mi Kedushas Yom Tov. The 2 Kedushas that we have over here are Kedusha Shabbos, because Kedusha Shabbos is a Daraisa. So we want to delay leaving Shabbos because the Kedusha Shabbos is a Daraisa. We would rather delay bringing in the Kedusha of Achron Shal Pesach, which is only a Derabanan. So we'll hold off on bringing in the Kedusha Derabanan in order to hold on to the Kedusha Daraisa. V'das hataz the lavdavke imchol Yom Tov Achron b'motzei Shabbos. This halacha is not only true when Yom Tov Achron falls out on Motzei Shabbos. Dehu adin afilu b'chayil. This halacha is even true if Achron Shal Pesach falls out during the week. Also, Nami Yesh Lahaktim Sefira L'Kiddush, we're still going to say Sefira before we say Kiddush. So let's say Yom Tov Achron falls out on Wednesday, right? So you would think, let's make Kiddush first to bring in the Kedusha of Yom Tov Achron, and then let's count Sefira, because we want to bring in the Kedusha as quickly as possible. The Taz says, no, not so fast. You're still going to count Sefira first. Still, yesh la'aktiv Sefira l'Kiddush. Why? The tvei adif la'acher kedushas Yom HaShvi shehu min HaTorah. Because again, what are you doing? You're leaving the kedusha of Shvi Shel Pesach milakabel kedushas Yom Tov Achron. So you know what? Count Sefira first. Let's hold on to the kedusha of Shvi Shel Pesach, and not be so quick to bring in the Kedusha of Achron Shal Pesach. She'ein elam d'Rabbanan. Aval Achronim chalku alav. However, the other Achronim, and the Sharatzion brings this down from the Chagaka, the Yerabba, Mara Mordechai, that they argue on this, and they say no, that in such a case, we should rather make Kiddush of Achron Shal Pesach first, and then count Sefira. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me for this Limud HaTorah. The schos of Limud HaTorah should stand Gans Klal Yisrael in good stead. The Rebbeinu Shalom should check Yeshuas and Refuas and Parnasa to everyone, and we should be Zaychet to the Bias Gal Tzedek b'Meher of Yomeinu. Be well.